Um, Greetings, welcome. So this is the Panda Consulting's ArcGIS Parcel Fabric Workshop, and it is July 9th, 2002. It is just after 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm glad everybody's here. And so this is focused on the parcel fabric itself. And let's go through the slides that we have on here. Again, this is something that Nancy Von Meyer and I thought of, and I want to make sure I give her a shout out every time we do these. Nancy's a dear friend, and she was the one who came up with this original concept, so we'll do that. I think by now most of you, all of you, kind of know who Panda is. Go over the Arc or the GoToMeeting interface. It's a fairly simple interface. You'll see on the screen, you'll see me, you'll see Chris, anybody else who's got an active camera. The interface has got element here for going and seeing which cameras are on. Here see the people, here's the chat, here's the settings. So here's where you can set to see who's talking, who has an active camera on there. Here are the participants in here. This is the chat window. With the chat window, you can go in and do a chat to everyone, or you can do it just to specific people in here. And the pull down list will tell you who's here and who you can chat with. And then finally, here's your settings on here. Again, our goal is that this is to be interactive as much as possible. Very few slides. This is an event. This is not a webinar. I don't want to just be the one talking up here. Granted, sometimes I am. But please ask questions. All right. And you can either ask them audio or you can put them in the chat window. And Chris, who you see here, is going to moderate the chat window. Chris, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm Chris Conkling. I'm Frank's son. I think most of you probably already know me at this point, considering how many of these we've done. But I've worked with Panda for the last 3 years, just about 3 years. Yeah, those are the basics.
Yep.
Any questions, just type them in the chat and I'll relay them to Frank.
Okay. You should have all gotten email notices that we're sending these out so that you get all of the registrations on here. And at the bottom of that, there is a update your preferences, and so you can even unsubscribe from this list, so that you can tell us what you want. And we've pretty much done away. So if you're registered on this series, you're getting every invitation anyway. So that's all we have. So for today, we had Chris actually is the one who started this because he was doing some work and he's like, Dad, I don't think we've gone over how to actually do a full subdivision. We've talked about the tools. We've talked about, the Traverse tool, what a record is. We've talked about all of that, but we've not talked about actually building a subdivision from scratch. So what we're going to do today, unless somebody has a suggestion, Art, we're going to mute you so that we don't hear any background noise. Is we're going to go from scratch and actually build the subdivision from scratch. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go to the chat window and make sure that we all are able to chat. And do you have anything else you want to talk about on this meeting besides just building a subdivision? I don't see anything. All right. So let's start with this. I have here a parcel fabric in which I have gone and taken a a scan of a subdivision in which I'm going to build. All right. And this is just a scan subdivision. I just wanted something that I could work with. I've georeferenced it here, and now I'm going to start building all the lots, the subdivision boundaries, and everything on here. And we're going to go from there. Notice there's a couple of interesting things about this. The subdivision boundary actually takes into account that there is a right-of-way taking that occurs in here. So we'll have to go and fix that. There's also, there's a right-of-way here. Well, it turns out that inside of this county's parcel fabric, they do not map subdivision, or they do not map roads. So we're not actually going to be creating roads. We're just going to be creating the subdivision boundary, the lots, and then the tax parcels from that. All right, but we will have to go and take this parcel and get rid of that road right away in there. So there's a couple little things in here that make it very interesting. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, and while we don't always do this, this is something I want to make sure that we cover just so that you understand how this thing works. I want to make sure that the bearing basis of this subdivision coincides with the bearing basis of my individual parcels right now. So I want to go and create what's called a ground to grid adjustment. All right. And that's over on the edit tab. When I click on the edit tab, it's over here in the end. And I can pull that down and say, okay, here's what I want to do. I want to go and find the direction offset. I don't care about scaling the distances up or down, but I want to go and get a direction offset. So I'm going to uncheck distance, make sure that the direction offset is checked, and say I'm going to go ahead and put this in, and I'm going to go and turn it off. Okay, sorry about that. I want to go in and input this, and it's going to say, okay, so what is the bearing that this line is supposed to represent? 89 degrees, 49 minutes, 00 seconds, and that is southwest. All right. The next thing it's going to do is say, okay, well, now give me that line. And there is the line there. And it goes and it will show me what this correction is in here. So it's 1 degree, 31 minutes, 23 seconds rotation to go and make it so this all fits in here correctly. So let me go in here and make sure that this is turned on. All right, make sure it's on. If I make that 1. And since it's highlighted, it's now turned on. All right, so as we're aware, within the ArcGIS Parcel Fabric, you always want to have a record. Not just always want, you always have to have a record. If you do not have a record, when you go to build a parcel, and that parcel can be a subdivision, a lot, or a tax parcel, or anything, and you use any of the parcel fabric tools to go and check the parcel. For example, when I use a build active, it goes and checks to see whether or not the features that are stored on these parcel types have records associated with them. And if they do not have records associated with them, they are considered a topology error. So you want to make sure that you use records when you're building this. All right, so let me go and start actually going in construction. So I have already created a Green Hills Point record, which is the name of this subdivision. And I did that by going and clicking and doing create record, filling it in here. And then once I filled it in there, it became my active record. To go over again, what's an active record? An active record is when I have a record here. The record goes and tracks things. When I have an active record, my tools specifically for the parcel fabric are enabled. And when I make my record inactive, you can see that these tools become disabled. So this is now an active record that I can begin going and building things from. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and actually start and create some lines. So I can use the traverse tool to do this. I can use just a standard create tools. Let's do it with the traverse tool. Let's do it as if this was a real subdivision. All right. And when you open up the traverse tool, the first thing you want to be aware of is you want to make sure that you're building the lines on the correct layer, because inside the ArcGIS Parcel Fabric, you have multiple line feature classes, not one as you did in ArcMap Parcel Fabric, but multiples. So that I have parcel lines, I have connection lines, I have lot lines, I have condo lines, and I have subdivision lines. In this case, I'm going to use a connection line. The connection line, again, is a line which is used to find sort of a starting point, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's part of the boundary of what you're building. Think of it as what we used to call origin connection lines. Those are the lines from the point of commencement to the point of beginning. Or you can think of this as sort of just general construction lines. What is this? So again, with this, I can say, okay, where do I start? There's my start point. Now I'm going to go and type in 89.4900, and it is southwest. And then come back over here and note that this is a 45-foot wide taking here. So I'm going to say 45 feet. All right. So there's my line there. Now, one of the things to remember about this is that with the ArcGIS Parcel Fabric Traverse tool, it does not create a sketch. Literally every time I do this, it creates a line on there. So these are lines that are already built on here as I'm going forward. So let me go and do the next line here, 00.4454, and this is southeast for 175.00 feet. That's over to here. All right. So now I have where the beginning of this subdivision and all this other construction is going to be. In order to now change and begin mapping my subdivision boundary, I need to create a new traverse. So when I click on new here, it's going to create a new traverse, going to start it again. And this time I'm going to tell it that I'm going to begin building subdivision lines. All right. And I'm going to snap to the end of my origin connection line, or my connection line as they call it now. And I'm going to begin doing the outside of the boundary. 89.4900 southwest. All right. For a distance of 790.00 feet. And then I have 00.1100. Again, it says northwest, going north. I want to go southeast, heading south for 221.97 feet. All right. My next call, 48.3625. And this is southeast now. And this is 57.58 feet. All right. So here's where it gets a little tricky, because on this, they literally did not give me anything else as far as other than saying this is a 60-foot radius on this curve, and my arc length is 4352. how do I go and build this then? What I would normally do is I would go in here and say, okay, well, if I have insufficient information here, I'm going to go and instead of continuing along this route here, I'm going to start back up here and build it back this way until I get to here, and I can then use this line and make it a curve across there. So again, new line, set my new start point back here again, and now start inputting these values here. So this one is 00.4454 southeast, and this is 270.01 feet. And I can go the same bearing for 60 feet for my right of way, the same bearing for 308.01 feet. All right. Now I can build the rest of this exterior here, 89.4900 southwest for 796.29 feet. 00.1100 northwest for 269.97 feet. Up to 259.97 feet. All right. And then 48.1425 northeast, 57.58 feet. All right. Now again, I don't know what this chord is that's in here, but I can actually go and click on it there. And what this actually is doing is it's actually putting in brackets here what these are. So on here, I can then say, well, take this bearing here, make it 0. My radius is 60 feet to the right, and my arc length would be the combination of those two. And just to make sure, wow. So I am looking at 43.53 plus 43.55 equals 87.08 is being my arc length, 0.08. All right. Again, that should be 0.
Just hit enter.
Thank you.
There you go.
All right.
Oh.
And this should actually be the chord bearing CB of this curve. All right. And then this should be 0 on here, so you can see it there. All right, let me go and turn this off for a minute so we can actually see what I've drawn up to this point. So another important thing about the curves inside of here is that notice I had to tell it that this was a CB, this was a chord bearing on here. so that it would go and register it as a curve. You are going to have to use these overrides on here for this. All right. So I'm actually done with this subdivision boundary, and I can go and get off. I can use the left arrow to get off of this. I can then go and create the seed, and note there's my seed on here. And then I can say, go ahead and build active seed. All right. Let me just go and attribute this. And this is Green Hills Point. By the way, this obviously doesn't have any attribution or any attribute rules in here to automatically go and populate these, but that's good enough, and it is auto applied. All right. So there is my subdivision boundary. Okay, any questions on that so far? None?
None yet?
Anything from you?
Nope, nothing in the chat yet.
All right, so here's another thing that I found I use an awful lot in doing this every single day, is that normally your instinct is to go in and try to select this thing. And again, right now we still have things underneath here and everything. I've learned that one of the easier ways to do this is to just go and pull down the settings on it and say select my records, and have it automatically select everything that has been tagged as being part of this record. All right, it seems to be much easier, much clearer way of going and working with the parcel fabric inside of here. Is use this as much as you can. All right. So now I've got a subdivision in here. I want to go and build it and actually build the rest of the lots that are in here. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is use the next command, which is comparable to our old construct from parent, and that is copy lines 2. Make sure my lot layer is turned on. I can say copy lines 2, pull this down and say my lot layer. Now on here, there's a couple of options. The first is show only the active record. In other words, don't show anything else underneath here. Only show that. And then the other one is preserve an attributes, meaning create a seed for me that has the attributes on. I really don't care to do that. A nuance that you have is that on this, when I say active record, you got to remember that this function right now is copying the lines from my subdivision layer into my lot layer. But my subdivision lines are still coded as part of this record, which means when I do that, oh, not Z aware. I'm sorry, this is a county which is having some Z values on here. Here is it here? Let's make it here. Elevation units are same here. I've got no Z values in here. Let's see if we can do this now. Nope. I may have to go through all of these points just to make sure. Meters in here. Let me try it this way. I may have picked a wrong. See if this allows me to do it now. Oh, no. Maybe it's here. Obviously, I should have checked this out first. There's some cartography lines in here. These are other things. I have a feeling that 83. I'm trying to eliminate everything in here that's extraneous on here. Everything in here should be fine. I mean, this brings up a really good point that, in fact, the ArcMap Parcel Fabric is Z enabled. You want to watch out for it. This is the second county which has happened to me on this. So you need to make sure that your projection information has a Z value on it because it requires it as you go along. I'm going to cheat. Okay? What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to, rather than using select copy lines 2, I'm going to take what lines are in, what's in here. I'm going to get rid of these. I don't care about these. All right, clear that selection. So I have my subdivision lines and I have my subdivision polygon. I'm going to take and clear so I'm only going to take my lines and I'm going to go and let me see if I can do this a different way. I'm going to go and duplicate this to the lot layer. Let me do that. I didn't do copy lines. I just duplicated these lines and duplicated the subdivision up to the lot. So in this case, I have a polygon, which is the subdivision polygon, and I have all the lines that are the exterior of it. All right. And I'm going to go and turn off my sub layer now and look at what I have left. I have connection lines. Again, I don't care about those. I could delete them. I have my lot lines in here and I have my lot polygon in here. So I, in essence, did the same thing as that copy lines 2, but I avoided that Z error. I don't know what's going on with that, but I'll look at that before I use this again. And so I accomplished the same thing. I actually also went and copied this polygon over, I'm going to delete that polygon. I'm just going to use the lines that are on my lot layer. And from these, I'm now going to build out everything else. All right. Sorry for that little side trip there. So now I'm going to go and let's go and turn off our tax parcels so that we just have all of our lot lines on. So here's my lot line in here. All right. And I'm going to go and do a divide on my lot line. And I'm going to divide it by distances. All right. So here's my one line. I'm going to divide it by distances, and they're going to come from the start of my line, which is here, and not the end of my line. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say not just one, not just equal distances, but I want to go and do this varying distances. So I'm going to type out the various distances along here, and it's going to keep track of it. This is much like the old break line was. All right. So in this first one, it's going to be 120 feet. Enter. The next one is 95 feet. Enter. 95 feet. Enter. 95, 95, 95, 95. And I should have at the bottom here 100 feet left, which it is. All right. And I can now say, go ahead and divide that line up. So it goes and divides them all up. Let me go and take this line on the south here. Notice it has exactly the same divisions, but my first one is not 120 feet. It's 126.29 feet on here. So 126, 95, 95, 95, 95, 95, 95, and then 100. So my last one is 100 feet. I can go ahead and hit divide on there.
Frank,
There should be a question there. Yes.
Rod has a very good question, and it's one that I asked you a couple weeks ago. He says, can you group those line splits with one entry, i.e. 95,6? We kind of messed around with that a little bit.
Yep.
Did you come up with any type of solution?
So let's look at that again. All right. So in here, let's go and take all of these. And let's completely do this way, clean that out. Okay, there's the first one. 126.29 feet is our first one. Can I do 95 space 6? Doesn't seem like it. 95 dash 6.
Oh, it's not typing.
95 dash 6. Nope. Can I do 95 comma 6? Nope.
Definitely not.
Nope. I believe there is an option on this. Matter of fact, let's go and look at this. And I want to go through this only because I've been using 2.6 a lot, so I kind of have to remember which one's in which. Let's just try this. It's an imagery. Divide a line. Equal distance here. I don't see it in this. Just to make sure.
This is for a parcel, not a line, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. Divide method, direction here. No, I don't think on this, with this release, it allows that, Rod. All right. I do not believe. So let's go back and go back. And just to verify, I think we do have these lines already built in here. All right. Notice we recently discovered that there is a bug in here, and that it does not populate this last one. I'm going to populate it as 100. So when I did the divides, same thing here. We reported that in fact the divide tool does not populate the last one if you have a remainder on there. I could have just gone and put that input in there as 100 and left it with 0, but if I leave it as 0, it does not populate that at all. Just to be aware, it has been reported. It's been fixed in 2.6. All right. Good questions, though, Rod. Anyone else? Nope. Anything else? All right. So let me go and build the rest of this. Again, I can go in here, go back, and go to my traverse tool. And I'm going to build lot lines now. And I'm going to start here. All right. And it's just reminding me that I do have an offset here. And this is 89.4900 and 89.4900, and this is southwest, and 122.66 and 95. And here I can just continue to return. And then since it copies this value down, there's my bearing. And now this is 44.58 feet for this. All right, to get to there. Now, again, this is kind of strange in that they don't give you any central angles or anything else, but you can build it. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and this line coming in is now going to be my tangent bearing. All right, 0 for my distance. My radius is 20 to the right. And my arc length, 17.91. All right. Now, this bearing is going to be my tangent bearing again, 0. And now it's going to be 60 feet to the left is my radius. And my distance is, my arc length is 41.62 feet. All right. So here's the next question. And I'm experimenting here. I remember in ArcMap, you used to be able to say with the splat that this is supposed to be tangent. All right. Minus 60 and 62.83 feet on there. Now, here's one thing that is a little different because it doesn't necessarily close out. So I'm going to tell it, here is my closed figure here. What did I do there? I'm going to go and export this out so I don't lose this. All right. So I went and deleted all of those, is what happened. I thought I had saved this. Did I not save it? Oh. Because I had marked it as closed. It was supposed to go to close. Oh, never mind. I figured out what I did. Sorry. I'll tell you in a minute what I actually did on here. All right. So let's try this again. If I put the asterisk above here, this may mean tangent, and this is 0, and it's 20-foot radius, and my arc length is 17.91. All right. And I can put that in as tangent again. That's 0. This is minus 60. And now it's 41.62 feet. Is here. Tangent again. And this is 62.83 feet. All right. I forgot to set the closing point here to make it closed. Now, Christopher, what is this?
It's an issue with the snapping.
Yeah, it is. That in the the traverse tool, it doesn't necessarily snap. So that while you think this is valid, you want to be real careful with this, just real careful with this. By the way, I'm going to go and get off of this. So how do we fix this, Christopher?
Well, you can use the edit vertices tool.
Yep, the edit vertices tool is one of them.
That's one way to do it.
And tell it that fine. By the way, it creates that point. And we would discover that when we'd go and build our seeds on here. By the way, it's obvious this is not a normal type of Esri demo. We're actually showing you all, this is live. We're showing you all of this. All right. So let's again now this other part, 89.4900. And this is again southwest and 123.25 feet. All right. Then we want to go that bearing again, 95 feet. And that bearing again, 95 feet.
Rod asks, you just snapped that line in the cul-de-sac. What about your subdivision boundary? So that's a good question.
That's a very good question.
See the subdivision boundary right now, but likely we would need to do the same thing.
Let's go and check. We'll check that when we're done with the lots, Rod. Because here's one of the interesting things. There is an inherent snap tolerance that when you go to build a seed, it understands that snap tolerance and it will allow you to go and build a seed and build a polygon, even though there might be a little bit of difference there. I have not found what that tolerance is yet, but you just want to be aware that it may be that it isn't exactly closed. 44.59 feet. All right, will get me to there. Now I can input some of these curves. And again, I'm going to use that same technique where for my bearing, I'm just going to tell it the asterisk above the 8. I'm going to say go tangent to my previous line. I'm going to type in 0 for my distance. My radius is going to be 20 feet to the left. My arc length is 17.91 feet for that. Again, I want to be tangent again. And now it's going to be 60 feet to the right. Excuse me. 60 feet to the right. And my arc length, 41.62. All right, and finally, one more time, tangent again. And 0 here, 60. And this is going to be 62.83. So here again, because especially inherently, if you use arc lengths to go and lay out curves, and that already has an automatic rounding error in there. So the question is, well, how do I make sure that this thing closes? In this case, I can set a closing point to be there, and it will snap it even without me saying where it was going to go. I went and did it. It automatically said. So in layman's term, what this traverse is that I just did is a closed one-line traverse. It is a single traverse. It doesn't close back on itself. It closes on an external point. So inside of the parcel fabric with the traverse, you can put and tell it where it's supposed to start at and where it's supposed to end to. So you can tell it where that start and the closing point is supposed to be, and it will automatically snap them out. All right.
Victoria has a question. She says, I notice you're not building out like was recommended for the desktop fabric. Does it not matter with Pro?
You're not building out 10. You're not building the subdivision first and then the lots inside of it.
Actually, I did. I built the
Well,
subdivision
kind of.
poly, and then I took those lines and copied them.
Okay.
All right. So again, it is all, I'm building from the outside in. It's just, I don't see the subdivision poly now, but it has already been built. And I use that geometry to go and build internal.
Okay.
Okay. So now let me go here and start with now building out my lots. And here's where there's a couple questions. Well, how do I do this exactly? And there's a couple ways. I want to try them all so that you can see them. One is to actually use this plat information in here, 01100, and that would be northwest, and 308.00. And while that looks good, if I go in here and look at this, it really doesn't close. So I'd have to then say, okay, it's supposed to go to here. All right. Oh, sorry. Do that all the time. There's a starting point. There's the bearing and distance. Why don't I see this here?
Is it because you still have close checked off?
Thank you. Yeah. And it should have gone in here and did that, right? It should have. There.
There you go.
All right, that's one way to do it. Is to do that. All right. If you want to be technical and say, okay, I want to go and do it and so that I verify every single one, you can do that. You can also use this, in which I go and instead of using the traverse tool, I use a create tool. And on here, I go 2 points and say snap here and snap here. I want to make sure that I'm careful in what I'm snapping to, right? I want to make sure I'm snapping to that corner there. On there. And the nice thing about this is it's easy to do. The bad thing is it doesn't necessarily reflect what the COGO value is that's stored on the plat. All right. If it turns out that these are 308, 308, 308, 308, one of the things we can do, I'm going to turn this off again and say, okay, here to here. Again, being careful to make sure I snap and I see that icon before I snap. So by the way, right now I am in Create Features, all right? Create Features is kind of interesting in that by default, the 2-point line for Create Features is a continual line. It rubber bands after every single one of these things. But if I go to Create Features and go here to my lines here, my 2-point lines, I can actually go over here and go to this And when I click on the line, it gives me the option, I cannot continue this. So if I'm doing a bunch of these right now, I could go in here and say here to here. All right, and now here to here. I can go here to here. Again, I'm making sure that I'm snapping. All right, so then I can click it back and say, now go ahead and continue with it the way it's supposed to be on here. So you have that option to go and change the behavior of the create line function, whether it continue with rubber bands or whether it just lets you go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So then we have to ask the question, okay, so let me see. These are all the same here. How do I attribute this? Well, there's a couple of things. I can actually go in here and say, copy these attributes and paste them all in here and have them all be attributed as that bearing and distance on there. I can go back here and say on this, I can attribute it, on my own and say, all right, well, this is supposed to be 0.1100 northwest, and the distance is supposed to be 279.22 feet on here. This is same bearing, 001100, and this is northwest again, and this distance is 270.00, and then I could take that and copy that. Copy and paste them.
Steve wants to know if you can update the Kogo attributes automatically.
Yes.
You can.
Yes, you can. Wait a minute. He says automatically. No, unfortunately. That is a separate function. You can do this at the end. I could go in here and select all these. All right. And then go to my update Kogo. Update Kogo has some interesting options in it. So to continue with your question, Steve, you cannot do it automatically. You can't do it so that I draw a line, it automatically updates the Kogo on it. You can't do that, unfortunately. But what you can do, there's only two ways to create a line that's automatically updated. One is in the Traverse tool. The other one is, I'll go in here just to show you. One is the Traverse tool. The other one is actually going and using the direction and distance. 000 northwest for 270 feet. Obviously, I typed something wrong in there. But by doing that, it would automatically go in 24. Yeah, it would automatically go and update it as I created it. Those are the only two ways to create something that automatically gets updated. Those are the only two functions that will allow you to do that. So that as you create it, it updates it. And it means either, again, Traverse, where you input it, or using the constraints to go and input it that way. Those are the only two ways to do it on here, unfortunately. So I was going to go in and comment that there is some interesting things about the update Kogo on here. So update Kogo, you can tell it on both distances and directions to just whatever's on there, just go ahead and override it. That's one thing you can do. Or on both of them, you can tell it that they might be close. So only override it if it's more than, in this case, if it's more than 5 foot, or if the direction is more than a certain offset, as far as more than 5 degrees or anything like that, you can go and do and say, okay, if it's more than 5 degrees here, or the lateral offset is more than X, you can go and do that, and it will go and update it. Matter of fact, you can see that it actually went and updated these things because I actually only put in 5 seconds. But yeah, you can, with the update COGO, you have some additional capabilities above and beyond what we used to have. It used to just overwrite whatever we have. Now you can tell it, well, if it's within this margin, within this variation, don't overwrite it. Just leave it. It probably was good. Okay. Any questions now on this so far? These are great questions. I like them. So what I've done is I've gone and taken that subdivision, copied, in essence, that whole thing, and duplicated it onto the lot layer. And then going to take that, and because they then become lot polygons, excuse me, they then become lot lines on here. I can then go and build them out, divide them up, build them out, and make it all work. And tell it to go and say, okay, now I think everything is closed here. I can create seeds on here. And if I did this right, if it closed, there will be seeds every place where there is a closed polygon on here. However, we said that in this county, by the way, I can't tell you how many times I do this. I'm on Update COGO right now. When I'm on Update COGO, it will not let me select a polygon or point or anything. It only allows me to select lines. I want to get off of this. And then I want to go back to select, and now I will select this road. I don't want to build a road polygon. If I wanted to, I could keep that here. All right. Any questions yet? Okay.
None
Then
in the
I can
chat.
go ahead and just say build these lots out. And it will build all of these lots. Let's go ahead and put this in. Lot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 11 through 12. So now I can go and do sequential numbering. And I'm going to number on my lot polygons. And the field I'm going to be numbering is name field. The format. This is very interesting the way this thing works, in that the pound signs are the areas that get filled in. And the number of points in the padding that you want is by the number of pound signs that you have in there. So in this case, I can only put 1. I can put 1. I could put 2. I could put 3. And it will pad them. So if I only do 1, I'm going to do it with just 1. And I'm going to go here to here. All right. That will go and put in the sequential numbers on here. And you can see here 1 through 8. Since this starts at 11, I can then say, okay, let's start at 11 now. And go and do that. Notice I did not have to select them. So it will go through anything that I click through on here, on this layer, and sequentially number them. So let me go back here and go and demonstrate a couple more things here. So if I put another pound sign in front of here, and I go and click here, notice it is padding those with zeros on here. So if I just want it to be just a number, not padded, only have one there, only have one pound sign. If I want it to be padded, I can make it multiples. So how would I use this? If I wanted to go, for example, and have my parcel numbers have 3 digits in the parcel area, I would put 3 pound signs in there. I would put the prefix in, and then I would put 3 pound signs, and then I would put the suffix in, and it would automatically pad those numbers as far as the incrementation with the required zeros in front of it. So now you can actually go all the way and do more than 9 or 99 at a time. And that was the issue that we used to have before. Any questions yet? Any comments here? No?
No?
Sequential numbering. It's actually very nice. Just kind of have to learn how to do it. Victoria. And I just saw that Victoria posted this, Christopher. I don't want to step on you.
No, she says, can you add things other than numbers?
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right. So it's a good question. Good question. I like that. So in here, again, parcels here, I can put in here lot, open parens, and then I could put a pound, and then say close parens, start at 1. All right. And there we go. So it will allow you to go and increment the numeric portion of it, but you can still put text before, you can still put text afterwards, but it's only that incrementation that occurs. By the way, that just sort of brings up something else to me. I wonder if I could have, what happens when I have something like this? And by the way, I've never tried this. I like breaking things. So what happens when I do something like that? Oh, it duplicates those values. So there is the mask. There's the format that it's duplicating, and it's duplicating that each time. So that that if you had something like that, I don't know why you would, but you have something like that, you could on there.
Angie has a question.
Okay.
Does it also create numbers correctly with long pin numbers? I like breaking noises.
With long pin numbers. Yes, Angie, if in fact, so let's say this is something other than this. Let's say this is a long pin number. Maybe it has the section, the township, the range in here. It has a subdivision code in here. It has a block code in here, and then parcels, and then it has some lot identifier. All right, something like that. And again, you can do this with dashes. Those are actually pieces of text before and after that little mask. They're all just handled as text. So, and then I can say, all right, well, go here, sequential numbering here. Let's zoom in so I can see this. There it is. So I could, again, the text that appears before and after this field, it doesn't care. It just goes and puts it in there. So I do like to break things, Angie. I like to find out how they work. And sometimes the only way to do that is to break it. As was obvious earlier, So we go back to here. So, but Angie, you did bring up another interesting question. I'm going to look at the lot layer here because I don't remember exactly what this looked like. I wonder if they actually have a parcel subtype, stated unit area is seed. No, they really don't have anything in here. But I wonder whether you could use this sequential numbering against a long field, a long integer field rather than a string. We'll have to test that to see. I don't know. It might.
Steve also has a question. Sometimes our lot numbers have letters, for example, 1A or 2B. How do I add these?
Right now I'm working on release. This is 2.5. We have asked Esri to let us increment or not just numerically, but also alpha characters on there. They are working on it. They did not put it in 2.6, but they have promised that they will do that, and it will probably be 2.7 is what's going to wind up where you can actually go and increment alpha characters, not just numbers on here. All right. We're not done with this. We still have this here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and say, well, let's select all of things that are in here, this record. Again, my connection lines, I don't care about those, but here's my lot lines. Here's my parcel, my lot polygons on here. So I can go to here and say, let's go and take those and duplicate them now. You got to turn it on before. Duplicate them now to tax parcels. All right. So now, let's turn off the lots. Now, if I look at my attribution, these are all parcel polygons on here now. On here. All right. I have parcel polygons built. I can go and use my sequential numbering against this. And I'm going to do this not against lots, but against parcels here. And in this case, I'm going to build it more 10-20, whatever it is, 34-35- and then pad this out. Starts at 1. Starts at 11. Here. Oh, look at that. Because that was interesting. Why did it go and not wind up with 9 on here? Let me make sure that this is shown and my parcels aren't in here. My labels on my parcels, there it is. Because this should be number 8. But instead, because it's doing the one underneath, it came out with a different number. That should be 1 through here. That should be lot 8, and instead that's 9 because it also went through here. So maybe I should have gone and taking these and clip them out of the parcel underneath. All right, get rid of all this stuff here. And the only thing I have turned on right now are my tax parcels. So I can say clip And because the only thing I have turned on is my tax parcels, I can clip out from my existing parcel here and say clip everything that's being displayed underneath here. I want to make sure I don't have any PLSS layers underneath here, don't have my subs turned on, don't have anything else turned on. And I can now go and get rid of the lines and now have my polygons and do a clip against my polygons here. All right. Now here's my remaining parcel. Here's my individual parcels on here. Couple interesting things here still. I still have to clip this thing out. All right, I have to go and divide this up and get rid of it. Take that road right away on here. A couple ways of doing that. I can do I could do a couple things. I could take this and I could take off the 45 feet there. I could do a split on this. All right, I can do a split and say split this, and I want to go and start here to here. Let's go parallel here to there and go ahead and split it. Take this and put that with my road right away. I then have this thing left. And I could do the same thing and say just split this here to here. And then I can split that. Take that and delete that. There's my original lines. Nope. I have my parcel lines there. Oh, that was my original parcel lines that I never cut up. Again, I can go back here and do a split on that again. All right, and I can do it here and here. Nope.
Andrea in the chat says to avoid what Victoria is asking about, wouldn't you want to do clip right after creating the subdivision polygon to clip from the underlying parcel? That's a good question.
That's a very good question. You're right. I probably should have, but this isn't canned. So I'm doing this completely off the cuff, sort of my mind going through. But you're right. I could have done that against that. Yep, I could have. So let me go and show you one more thing about this, an interesting thing. So I have an individual parcel line, which was part of that latest split that I did, and I can go ahead and delete that. And notice one of the things and I'm going to go and delete these two. I'm going to take back on my attributes here. I'm going to take my two connection lines. I'm going to delete them. I don't need them right now. And note what happens. There's things missing here. I have no line here. I have no point here. No line here at all. So one of the things that I can do is I can go and just say build my overall extent. And what build does is it actually goes through and analyzes every record that's in my current view extent and finds out what's missing on there. Finds out what's not correct. So in this case, I had lines that were missing. I had corners or points that were missing. So it built those for me as I went. Again, just a reminder that the build fabric actually is used to validate to make sure that you have everything that's supposed to be in here. Unfortunately, these things, this line that it just built, that line that it just built doesn't have any bearing or distance on it, but it does build the line for me. Same way here and here. Let's uncheck that. We can go and say, let's go ahead and update Kogo on those two and have it automatically update those. All right, so let's go back to what Rod was talking about here. Oh, look at that. Look at that. So let's go to modify. And so what happened is it looked like it intersected these fine. Let's go in here and we can edit these vertices in here. Or what else could we do, Christopher? And the reason why I'm asking Christopher is we went through this the other day. It turns out that while there is no mean points, right? While there is no mean points yet on this, and I'm not sure there ever will be, there is a function called a snap function. Now, I would not do it now that I've already built the lots, not that I've already built the parcels on here, but the snap function says take my subdivision lines, okay, my subdivision lines, and snap them to my subdivision polylines, where I snap the ends of these lines within a foot. I can also go and add. Well, maybe it's not just the subdivision polys, or maybe it's not just the end. Maybe it's vertices I want, vertexes I want. I'm going to delete that. But theoretically, this should actually go and take and snap these lines over to here, snap this line over to here with the snap function. And it did. So I can undo that. So there is a snap function in here for coming back later and snapping those. We've been experimenting with it. I still think that the best thing to do is just go in here and take that.
You could do a trim or a edit vertice or
yeah, but you want to make sure it
you want to move
back
it
to there. Yeah.
Just do that first.
Yeah. And then I want to go and do that. By the way, one of the things at the current release, you still wind up with these points everywhere because the current model doesn't deal with taking points and allowing you to track them with the history yet. 2.6 actually does allow that. So Rod, did that answer your question? It did in fact cause problems there, but because those lines intersected, it still allowed us to build that subdivision polygon for it.
He said yes.
Okay, good. All right. So believe it or not, we just went over about an hour and a half worth of work. So what questions do we have on here? What comments do we have on here? Or what observations do you have on here? You can do it, but as I've said from the very, very beginning, by the way, I probably clipped that thing wrong.
I was just going to say, I think we cut too much out of the
well,
west
you know
side.
what? Not a big deal. All right. So now I can go in here and I will select this thing and I will reshape it. All right. I will reshape it by just saying, hey, I'm going to go and select that line, delete the line, and tell it, go ahead and build, just make sure everything's valid. So as I started to say, one of what I know, Angie, one of the interesting things about this is that if you know the tools, you can do really, really efficient things like that, where, oh, I just had that wrong, and automatically correct it for you, all right, without having to go through all of this big hassle. By the way, it still went and tracked everything that I did here. It's all tracked. It all has that record on it. So it kept track of everything for me. So I didn't have to worry what I was doing. So it's learning to use the tools and the way the tools work that can make you much more efficient using the ArcGIS Parcel Fabric rather than the ArcMap one, or rather than using just simple feature classes. There's some really nice things about this. There's some things that there's still, one of the things I recently just on the beta team was like, hey guys, how long before you go and get a merge courses for us? And they have promised that in 2.7 we will have that. It's not in 2.6. 2.6 is pretty much done already. But yeah, they have. So there is some nice things here. And again, it's unlearning the ArcMap fabric and learning how to use these ArcGIS Pro tools to make this thing much more efficient, and recognize that there are safeguards here. So you can use these old tools to do things like changing the shapes of things and modifying them. Just as long as you build it, you're in good shape. We're coming up on an hour and a half. So we're coming up at the end of the workshop. All right. Yeah, by the way, Victoria, when I did the clip, and that's a very important point. Let me go and show you what we do. Clips right now, they do not maintain the parcel attributes of the parcel that you're clipping. So what you wind up doing in this case, here's my parcel number. I can go here and say, well, let's take this one and make it there. On here, yeah, this already has that. So what we do is we just teach that old, copy. Let me go and make sure that I think this actually, yeah, they use this for their labels, I think. Yep, there it is. So in order to capture that attribute, what we teach people is just turn on your historic parcels. That's why you keep them. The clip took that old one, made it historic. So turn on historic parcels, draw a box so you copy that historic one, and then go in, select the attribution, copy it, and paste it in the new one. And that's the way we're teaching people how to handle that. All right. So right now, before I stop this, I'm going to ask, what are you going to talk about next month with the Pro Parcel Fabric? By the end of August, which is where we're at, the middle of August, hopefully 2.6 will be out by then. Hopefully I'll be able to show you some of those things. But otherwise, what would you like to talk about on there? First couple of people that put things up in chats are the ones that get it. So you got to be careful. You got to be fast. All right. If not, I'm going to go and do two things. Remind everybody, virtual user conference is next week. And remind you, Panda has an exhibit booth there. So please, if you go to the virtual conference, please stop by. Go to the Expo Center, do a search on Panda Consulting, and there's 3 ways to get a hold of us. There is a chat window, which the metaphor they're using is that, hey, this is when somebody's walking by your booth, they can reach out and chat you and say, hey, yeah, how you doing? There is a one-on-one meeting in which you request, by sending an email, you formally request, hey, can I have a one-on-one meeting? And we set up a schedule and stuff. I prefer the third option, which is we have a Zoom meeting link, and we will have a Zoom meeting going on that entire time that the expo is open, and we will be doing demos, we will be showing things and doing all sorts of things during that Zoom meeting. So please stop by, and again, it's free to you. Stop by and give us a chat and talk to us and see if we can come up with some questions, and hopefully we'll be able to answer them for you. All right. Any other comments or anything? If not, I'm going to stop the recording and